mex pastre, Deo mex Deo, nato mex pastre, lumen ex lumine.
Hello everyone, I'm Deacon Greg Bevan, and welcome to Discussions on Meade County Catholic Radio on 95.3 WLHN, coming to you from Brandenburg, Kentucky. We read in Revelations 2, "Do not fear what you're about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." The world is surrounded by the love of Jesus Christ through those who believe in Him and are willing to share His words of hope, promise, and peace. Sadly, though, lurking around every corner is the devil who takes joy in promising freedom where it can never be found, by offering pleasures that can only imprison us in our lives. Our guest today, Amanda Wallet, experienced that love of Jesus from some special people in our community who helped her fight the evil effects of drugs and broken relationships, especially with her mom and her own 4 children, and yes, even the threat of imprisonment for 17 years. Her story is about hope, it's about promise, and it's about peace, especially the peace of Jesus Christ. That story when we return.
The story you're about to hear is a testament to the good that we can do by reaching out to help those in need. We would like to thank those who have made this discussion show possible, including the founders of Sierra's House, Debbie Thompson, Karen Bond, and Nancy Tate, St. Mary's Magdalene, and St. Teresa's Men's Prayer Group, Jim Pike, Doug and Karen Stiff, Lana Goodwin, Rodney Pickering, Rick Barr, and Cox's Variety and Home Center. Now to our show.
Amanda, I want to thank you for the courage of sharing your story with us today.
I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on here and to share some strength and hope to other people.
If you could, tell us a little bit about your life's journey up to this point.
Well, I was born in 1983 in Louisville, Kentucky, to a single mom. She done the best she could, I think. She was in a relationship for most of my years. It was full of domestic violence and just brokenness from as much as I can remember. It was just broken. And I remember just being a good student and trying to do the best I could. I done very well in school until about 13 or 14, and I started to get a little rebellious. So I was just put into a lot of different mental hospitals here and there I think she just couldn't deal with me. She didn't know how to help me. So she would just put me in those places to try to get me help. And of course, I would do well for a while, and I'd get out of those places and go back to just doing my own thing. And I started using drugs, mostly marijuana and drinking, for the earlier parts of my teen years. Just hanging around with the wrong crowd, just, I guess some people say it's typical teenage stuff, but mine progressed pretty rapidly, actually. It started as a weekend thing, and then before I knew it, it was just daily, and there was just lots of lying and just manipulation going on, and that went on for as long as I can remember, just seemed like forever back then. And then I was 16, and I met my first husband, my kid's dad, and I thought things were great. He was this older gentleman, and he promised things to me like a good life. He could take me away from my mom and give me better. And so I followed those hopes and dreams, thinking that this was it. This was my ticket out. And so shortly after that, I got pregnant with my first daughter. Things seemed great at first. we had this new little baby, and then shortly after that, I got pregnant again with my second daughter. And our marriage was just really rocky by that point. But I knew I needed to stick it out. And then, so he introduced me to the first hard drug I'd ever done, and that was methamphetamine. And that was like the wonder drug. I could get everything I needed to get done. I didn't need to sleep, I just could take care of these kids and not really worry about anything. He made good money. He worked a lot. He was an iron worker. And so money wasn't an issue. We had a nice home. It just seemed like we were able to hide this addiction for a very long time from our family. We had another daughter, and things were really bad then. We were able to hide our addiction clear up until our third daughter. And finally, it was just a breakdown with the cops showed up and they took our kids from us, and we both went to jail. And they removed our kids from us through CPS, Child Protective Services, and his mother took them until we were able to get them back. So I remember that was my first real interaction with a rehabilitation program, and I went to JDAC for 18 months. During that time, I got pregnant with our fourth and last daughter, and I'm happy to say she was born drug-free, a whopping 8 pounds and 14 ounces. She was a good, healthy baby. And I was able to stay clean for just a little while. Like, I can remember always being able to have short periods of time to where I was sober, maybe 2 or 3 months most, but it always ended up going back. It was just a familiar thing. I knew that could take the edge off, that would take the stress away. And then I finally got custody back of all 4 of my kids, and I remember just being very overwhelmed with all 4 of them. So I started to see a psychiatrist, and I was sober from drugs, but they gave me psych medicine, and that was like it just kicked me into overdrive. So I don't remember very much of my life to where I wasn't dependent on something. It was street drugs or psych medication, or there was just always something in my life that I needed to have that crutch. And then after that, we just we played this role of everything's good. We were able to hide everything from our family, but the truth was it was complete madness and chaos all the time. And so we finally decided in 2010 to divorce. And I had custody of the kids, of course, and he was in jail at this time. So I went and stayed with my mom for a little while, trying to take care of these kids by myself. And the whole time it was just, I tried to replace all this brokenness that I felt inside with just relationship after relationship, and they all ended the same way. I was getting high with them. I was not really upholding my responsibilities as a mother. I was lying to everybody, but it was this facade that nobody really knew what was really going on with Amanda. It was just always a smile when everyone was around, but I was completely broken and miserable inside. And then finally I knew that I had no place to take care of my kids. I'd completely started to unravel to the fact that there were signs now. I've lost so much weight. I wasn't paying my bills. I was, reaching out for money and things like that from everyone just to feed my children. So I made the decision to send them with their dad. And throughout this whole time after doing that, I was constantly in and out of jail, constant. Like, I would go a month back and forth between jail and the streets, and this just was a repeated cycle over and over for a long time till about 2019. And in 2019, there was something very tragic that happened. My best friend decided that he was going to shoot himself in my house while I was in the shower. And at that point, I just completely went dark. he was my best friend. Like, he accepted me no matter what was going on in my life, good or bad, ugly, clean. He didn't care. He was right there with me through everything. And when he done that, I didn't know how to face life anymore. It was just complete darkness in my mind, and so I turned to heroin. And for about 2.5 years, is almost a complete blur in my mind. I can only remember bits or pieces of that time because I stayed so high and so sick. But it took everything from me. Heroin took my soul. I ended up being homeless. I slept on the streets of Louisville, in tents, in bridge underpasses, wherever I could. I was robbing and stealing and selling myself for drugs, things that I never imagined that I would ever be capable of doing, I'd done. And that was just a very dark time in my life. They say that the longer you're in your addiction and the longer you're on the streets, the colder and the more heartless you get. And that is a true statement. For me, it was anyways. I had no conscience, no soul. There was no light in my eyes. It's just everything was, I woke up daily just screaming at God. Like, why don't you just take me? Why am I alive? And that changed. That changed on August 23rd of 2021. And I think God just decided he'd had enough, and he just scooped me up, and I was incarcerated.
Well, Amanda had reached a point where her choices she had made only led to despair, and was now facing a long prison term. But she was given one more chance to make it. That would completely change her direction in life. Her story of a new life continues when we return.
Meade County Catholic Radio would like to salute the life-giving ministries of Sierra House in Brandenburg, Kentucky, that gives women with no place to turn for help in so many cases when their lives are being torn apart by drugs and abuse. We especially salute the founders, Debbie Thompson, Karen Vaughn, and Nancy Tate, for giving so much of their lives to women like Amanda a new choice in life. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to Discussions as we visit with our guest Amanda Wallet and her message of hope, of promise, and of peace. Amanda, you now faced a long prison term, but you were given one more choice to make in your life. And God had provided people to help you with that choice. Talk about that opportunity.
Well, while I was incarcerated, I remembered there was a group on Wednesdays that was a church group, and there was a lady there named Debbie Thompson, and I'd had interactions with Debbie Thompson numerous times in the jail. I don't think I ever really listened to what she had to say. I think I just went to get out of the cell, basically. But this time in jail, she came in, and it just was a new, I don't know if it was me that changed or if it was me just reaching out, desperately needing something, but I actually listened to her words, and I got familiar with her, and I started talking with her, and she told me of this program that she had opened up, a Sierra's House program. It was a transitional living space for women who were incarcerated, and it gave them an opportunity to get their life straight, to learn how to cope in society without drugs or alcohol. It was basically a new beginning. And I had talked with her and filled out this application for this program. She accepted me, of course, but the judge wasn't I don't think he really believed me that I wanted to do something different. So he was very firm on my sentence. And I remembered going to court and him telling me that I was going to do, that my sentence was 17 years and I would do 15 years before I would ever see the streets again. And I just cried, and I went to the group the next Wednesday, and I told Debbie what had happened, and she said, just keep praying. And so I done that. I just kept praying, and it was 4 days after that my attorney came back and said that the judge had changed his mind, and he decided to give me one last chance. And they gave me an amazing opportunity. My sentence then was to complete 1 year at Sierra's house and 5 years of probation. And if I didn't complete that, I would do the 17 years. So Debbie accepted me into her program. And of course, at this time, I still had about 6 months left to serve on my sentence before he would release me to her. So during that time, I just remembered going. I got every opportunity I had to go to church. I took that opportunity. And I just kept listening to these men and women that came in there to share Jesus with me. And I remembered one day I bought this Bible from a girl that I was incarcerated with. And I was just like, God, I need some promises here. Is this really going to be something that you want for my life? And so I opened it up to Jeremiah. And it was Jeremiah 31:3, and I could remember the words. I'm not exactly sure if this is exact words, but it said something like, I will build you up again, and you will be rebuilt. Once again, you will take out your tambourine and go dance with the joyful. And I just believed, I felt like that was God telling me that this was my opportunity for him to build me up, because I was completely broken. I didn't know where to go from here, and that could have been the only way is up for me. So I finished the rest of my sentence, and on September 1st I was released to the Sierra's House program, and it was completely foreign to me. I was surrounded by people that they loved me, and they didn't even know me. They wanted what was best for me. They helped me with my way of thinking. They helped me to find God in a different way. They truly showed me a love that I'd never experienced before. Even as a child, I don't think I ever felt love. But these men and women, they just accepted me completely. And it changed my outlook on things. So I started to get into the routine, and I followed their rules, and I just poured myself into church and these Bible studies with Debbie and the girls, and I just took one day at a time. And they just told me that if I would just do the next right thing, just do the next right thing, one thing after the other. And I done that, and I am proud to say that I completed that program. Actually, I'm the first graduate of the program, and I owe a debt of gratitude to those women. That program saved my life. It molded me into the woman that I'm learning to be today, and I can't thank them enough for that. This program's changed me for the better.
If you could real quickly just kind of give us an outline of what their expectations were of you, and what discipline did you have to lead going through that program for a year?
Oh, gosh, it was definitely a challenge. So, the cell phone thing is just the modern thing. Everybody has one. It's the hip thing to have as a cell phone. And so that was one of the things. You can't have a cell phone. You can't have internet access. You have to have a job. You have to get a job in a reasonable amount of time. You can't have, for the first 30 days, there's no contact with your friends or family or anybody other than the women at that program. It's a very strict rules, and it's something coming from the streets and even jail. It's something that took a lot of courage to be able to do that, because it was something I'd never done before. I don't think I ever had rules. And these women give you rules, and they're strict on them. And I can remember being so upset with them, some days. And it's it's something, it's like a lifestyle change, and it's a shock to the system when you get there. You've got these little old women, and they're telling you can't do this and you can't do that. But if you stick it out, like the rules I've learned, they're there for a reason. And I was just telling Debbie the other day that had I not been in that program when I was first released from jail, I can't say that I would be sitting here sober today, because keeping me off of the internet, keeping me away from old people, places, and things, that was a lifesaver. And those women, I think they knew this going in, that one of the biggest triggers for us is, getting out, and the first people we contact are the people that we know. And those people aren't always good people to be around. So that was probably the most important rule, I think. But, you can't, they don't really like smoking there. So I stopped smoking cigarettes, and it's like just these small things that you would never think would make your life better. Just not smoking cigarettes or making your bed every day. Just basic things that, we forget in our addiction that are necessary. Hygiene stuff. Sometimes I would go days on the streets and not shower, but it was a requirement there. So it's just, it's not, the rules aren't over the top. It's basic things that normal people wouldn't have an issue with. But for us women getting out of jail and never really experiencing these things, it's a shock, but it's a good thing.
Well, you mentioned you were the first graduate of Sierra's House. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That provided you with the opportunity to avoid a prison term. But when I was talking with you the other day, you said in a way you feared leaving the Sierra's House and facing the real world again. What helped you deal with this new freedom and the new responsibilities that went along with it?
I think just knowing, I was terrified leaving Sierra's house. I had a big responsibility of taking care of my mom, and of course my daughters were going to be back living with me. So while I was in Sierra's house, I was able, through the help of my job, they helped me with a down payment on a house, and so I was able to have these things in place for the time that I was, released from Sierra's house. And the whole last month of being at Sierra's house, I had so much anxiety because I didn't know how to act having a cell phone. I was fearful that people would find me from my past, and it was just terrifying to have, and all of the responsibility, because at Sierra's house we pay $50 a month to them rent, but most of the money that we get from our work, they have us save it so that we are able to take care of basic needs when we are released from there. So I had all of this money saved up, and, I was terrified. I was afraid that if I didn't have these women, this bubble of the Sierra's house over me, like, what would I do? So I just made sure to keep all of my support from the church, from Debbie, from the men and the women in the community that helped me along my path. I just kept close ties to them. I would talk to them as regularly as I could, and I just threw myself into work. And I would go home after work, and I wouldn't leave. Like, I think I was at my house for maybe 2 months before I ever ventured out past dark. And that was new, so I just went to the river when I done that. I was like, okay, I can leave, it's okay. And it's just, I had to trust myself, and it took me a little while to be able to trust myself. But the more I done that, and the more I just made one right decision after the next, it seems to be a lot better now. I'm not as fearful. Of course, there's always the fear of failure. But I think failure is a big, important step to have sometimes. You have to fail to be able to build yourself up and to learn. And of course, I've failed a few times. I haven't made the right decisions, but it's okay. I didn't get high about it, and I didn't go backwards.
Well, good.
So, yeah.
Good. Well, as your new life began to unfold, you felt a call from God to help you help others. Jim Pike entered the picture. and you were given the opportunity to join him and get involved in jail ministry yourself. Jim told you that you would need to speak the truth, that you would need to give away what you had learned and received to others. Otherwise, you would be robbing them of a precious gift too. Talk a little bit about that experience with Jim and jail ministry and how you were able to share what you had learned and how you've been able to give them some hope too.
Okay. So I met Jim while I was incarcerated. He came in once a month for I think it's St. Mary's Catholic Church. Him and another lady, they came in once a month, and I can just remember hearing Jim tell me his testimony and where he had come from, and I knew that he had a lot of experience that I could learn from. So he kept up with me while I was in Sierra's house. He, made sure I was doing okay, and he just kept checking in with me. And so probably about 3, maybe 4 months ago, I just started feeling like something was missing in my life. And, I had gotten released from probation at that time too. And so I just felt this emptiness inside, like I just needed to do something more. And it was a few days after that, Jim came into my work and he approached me with starting to do jail ministry. And of course I was like, absolutely, Jim, I would love to do that. And so we started talking. And so we go up to the Meade County Jail once a month and we bring Jesus to them. And it is an amazing thing. I thought that Jim and Debbie and everyone had to be a little bit crazy to say that they got more out of it than we did. But there's truth in that, because when I look at these women and these men, I was right where they were just a couple of years ago. So I just feel like it's an amazing thing that they do with this jail ministry, because that's where it started for me. And to be able to give that back, it's a great thing. And he's done me a great deed by allowing me to help him with that. So I owe him a debt of gratitude. He told me that, it's an ugly truth. He said, our life sometimes is an ugly truth. And he said, without the ugliness, we can't have beauty. So I believed him with that, and his words have shown truth in my life. I went from ashes, and it's starting to look like a little bit of beauty now.
Oh, good. Well, we hear in 2 Timothy chapter 4, St. Paul in one of his more inspiring statements, and he says, I have fought the good fight. I've finished the race. I have kept the faith. Amanda, your fight is a long ways from being over. We know that, but through the help of others and through your faith in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and your willingness to share the good news with others, the promise of a better life has opened up for you. Tell us a little bit about some of the new, exciting things in your life now.
Well, like I said, I have my mother now, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to be able to take care of my mom. I didn't think that anything good could really come from that relationship. It was so broken for so long. But my mom, she's disabled now, and she's blind, and she completely depends on me. And that has been so humbling in my life, just being able to be there at her weakest moments and her to depend on me and know that she can. That's an amazing feeling. My children are back in my life, and we have a great relationship now. Like, they come to me with everything, even stuff I think I don't want to hear sometimes. But they're very open with me. And I have a home, and I have a steady job. I have an amazing church family and people in my life that I never imagined would be in my life. I never thought I'd be on a radio show telling my testimony or helping people with their struggles. And I just recently got engaged to an amazing man. Things aren't so dark anymore. And God's really provided in my life. And I know that without that surrender to Him every day, none of this would be possible. So I just, I have a long ways to go, but I'm able to dream again, and so the sky's the limit for me as long as I keep going.
I like that when you said you can dream again. That's really, really good. Well, Amanda, in closing, on behalf of our listeners and those who have walked with you over the years, we want to thank you for you sharing your story with us today. And it did take a lot of courage, I know, for you to do that. May you continue to live a life of hope and a life of promise and a life of peace, which I think I can hear that in your voice now.
Thank you. I just want to thank all the men and women who took a chance and a gamble on me. When I thought that it was over for me, they thought better. And they just, they lifted me up, and they believed in me, and they loved me even when I couldn't love myself. So I just want to thank them, and I just want to thank this community for supporting Sierra's house, and the jail for offering the church to come in there, because it's truly an amazing thing. And I just want to thank everybody. I just owe a debt of gratitude to this whole community, and I just thank you for your time.
Once again, our thanks goes to you too, Amanda. You've been listening to Discussions on Meade County Catholic Radio, 95.3 FM in Brandenburg, Kentucky. I'm Deacon Greg Bevan.
Not to make spots trade, Deo makes day.